A very good morning, children. Children, today is the revision 3 video, the third video that we'll be doing. And in this video, we will revise two chapters. We'll revise 2.4, The Fall of Troy, and 1.5, The Necklace. Alright? I will not be doing in detail, but just the gist of what the chapter is all about. Okay, so let's start with The Fall of Troy, 2.4. The two great epics of European literature written in ancient Greek are the Iliad and Odyssey. And we spoke about Troy, the city which was well situated both for commerce and agriculture. And in front of the city was the sea over which sailed the ships of Troy, carrying goods and grain. And at the back rose the high peak of Mount Ida, from which flowed many rivers and streams. And we even saw the valleys among the hills were well watered and fertile, with corn growing in fertile fields and cattle feeding on the rich grass of the meadows, while sheep fed on the slopes of the hills. So this was overall how the region Troy was. Okay, the city Troy was rich, and Troy was even a strong city. Okay, strongly protected by its wall and strongly defended by its brave soldiers. So how did the problem start? Here we have the main characters. We have Prince Paris, Queen Helen, and King Menelaus. All the kings and heroes of Greeks had declared war against the Trojans. Why? Because King Paris, a prince of Troy, he had persuaded Helen. She was one of the beautiful, queen at that time, wife of Greek King Menelaus, to elope with him. Okay, he has taken her with him and he had brought her to Troy. So obviously all the Greeks were angered and they wanted to take revenge on Troy for the wrong done to Menelaus. So they sailed to Troy and they laid a siege to the city. The Trojans too fought hard and the siege continued for how many years? 10 long years. The war went on. And in the midst of this, what happened? Great heroes on both the sides were killed in course of the war. After leading the defense of the city for 9 years, the brave Hector was even killed, by Achilles, whom none could resist. Now at last, Troy was taken, but that also not by force and that by a trick. And who came out with this trick? It was the cunning Odysseus, who thought of a plan to obtain the victory. And what did he plan? You all remember, children? The Greek leaders decided to follow the advice of wise Odysseus. And what did he say? That let us make a horse of wood. Okay? And a very skillful engineer did that. And the greatest hero, Menelaus, Odysseus himself and others entered it. And the last man to go in being the architect himself, who knew the secret of opening and shutting the entrance. And when they did all this, they were all hiding there. But when the Trojans, when they saw this, they were delighted to see the horse. And they said, oh, the Greeks have all gone away. Okay, that is what the false alarm came to them. And the Greeks have gone, they said. And now we can break the wall. What is the need of the wall? They said, now we don't need any protection. And in order to take this huge wooden horse into the city, what did they do? They broke the walls. And the walls, they said, were no longer necessary. So let us make a hole in the wall and drag the horse in. But when they dragged the horse in, what happened? The hidden Greeks, soldiers all came out and they gave an alarm to those who were, waiting in the sea, hidden there in the sea, the Greeks. They too, they were watching for the return of the fleet and they crept to the wooden horse and gave the signal. The side of the horse opened, the Greeks climbed out and opened the gates. And the whole Greek army entered the sleeping city of Troy. And immediately the Greeks set fire to houses and towers and palaces and began to burn and kill. And what happened in the end? What happens to Queen Helen? Queen Helen is ashamed of what she has done. Okay? And she hung her head in shame and sorrow. And King Menelaus forgives her. Alright? And you see this is the end of Troy, the very strong city that we were talking about. So this is a little summary of the chapter that we've already done. Let's move on to the next chapter, that is 1.5, the necklace. Here we have Matilde. She was a pretty and charming girl born in, as if by an error of fate, meaning into a family of clerks. She was the one who wanted to be born into a rich family, okay? And she had no means of becoming known, understood, loved, or being wedded to an aristocrat. What do you mean aristocrat? A rich family. So finally she got married to a minor official at the Ministry of Education. And we know that one day her husband comes home with an air of triumph, okay, holding an envelope in his hand. And what is it? An invitation by the Minister of Education. This is a very, very great prestige, for them to be invited for this party. But why is she sad? Why is Matilda sad? Because she's upset that I have no jewels, not a single stone to wear, and I would rather not go to the party. What does her husband suggest? You could wear flowers, they are very fashionable at this time of the year. But she was not convinced. She was not ready for that. So what does she do? She decides to go to her friend, okay, Mrs. Frontier. And you can see that on page number 19, she goes to a friend's house, okay, in order to get some jewel from her. And suddenly, while looking into her friend's, collections, she discovered her black satin box, and a superb diamond necklace was there. And her heart began to beat with uncontrolled desire. And she looked at it and she asked her friend, would you lend me this? Just this. And her friend said, of course you can take it. And she was so happy, she threw her arms around her friend and she fled with her treasure. And there we see at the party, she's all dressed up well, okay. It was a success for her. We see she was very happy. She danced wildly, forgetting everything about herself. But that was for a short time. What happened when she reaches home? In front of the mirror, she took a final look at herself, and what did she realize? She uttered a cry. She had no longer the necklace around her neck. So her husband asked her, what happened? What is the matter? And the husband said, she tells her husband that I no longer have Madame Forrester's necklace. And he stood up distraught. What does it mean of distraught? Worried, disturbed. And they go in searching for it. Do they find the necklace? No. And then they spend time collecting all the money they had, right? And she had 18,000 francs which her father had left. And her husband decided to borrow the rest. So at the end of 1 week, they had lost all hope. And Loisel was suddenly, she was suddenly looking aged, declared, we must consider how to replace the jewel. And so they went from jeweler to jeweler looking for a similar kind of a necklace, okay, consulting both sick with grief and anguish. They're wondering what to do. And lastly, they did find a necklace that looked similar. And how much worth was that? 40,000 francs. And they could have it for 36,000 francs. And finally, she did buy it, and she took it to her friend. Now, this is the climax of the story here. When she goes to Madame Forestier was stunned. So she looks at the necklace and she tells her, you say that you bought a diamond necklace to replace mine? He says, yes. You didn't notice them? They were very similar. And here Madame Forrester, she smiled with proud and innocent pleasure. And she tells her, she takes, oh, my poor Matilde, mine was an imitation. What do you mean by imitation? It was ordinary one. It was not a real one. Okay. And it was worth only 500 francs at most. So you see, poor Matilda spent all her energy and her money in buying a real diamond necklace to replace a imitated one, which was not really the real one. So this is in summary the 2 chapters that you've done. You can see the earlier videos, children, and you can follow the meanings, and please complete with your assignments too. Thank you for giving me a listening ear. God bless you.